Throughout WWE history, there have been a number of iconic and notable WWE title designs, from the classic winged eagle version of the WWE title to the big gold design that was used between 2002 to 2014 as a World Heavyweight title. There were also a number of WWE title designs that were made by WWE, but they were never used on television. This either comes down to Vince McMahon not being a fan of the specific design, or internal factors influenced WWE being able to present the new title on programming. But which ones were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE titles that never saw the light of day. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10. The BRAHMA Bull Belt. When Stone Cold Steve Austin introduced the Smoking Skull belt onto screens in '98, it changed the perception of custom WWE title designs forever. Vince McMahon had reservations at first in relation to allowing Austin to use the title on Raw, but eventually he came around to it and the design became insanely popular. The replica version of the title sold insanely well and still remains a top seller on WWE Shop to this very day. Following the success of the Smoking Skull belt, WWE wanted to introduce the BRAHMA Bull Belt for The Rock. In fact, this was made and ready to be used on television by the Great One, but that was until it was lost in the mail. During a 2021 interview on Entertainment Tonight, Stephanie McMahon revealed, "That's what's interesting about this, is actually never seen the light of day. It's never been on television. This is really a premium, one-of-a-kind artifact, and it was created during The Rock and Steve Austin storyline. This was created, lost in the mail, believe it or not. During those 2 weeks that it was lost, the decision was made to scrap the whole thing, and The Rock never got his own customized championship belt." Now, although the design never appeared on television, WWE did decide to make toy belts out of the design, and these were sold around the world. Interestingly, they did a similar thing for a custom Undertaker WWE title, but this one was made exclusively for the toy market rather than one that was intended to be used on screen. Number 9. Revamped versions of the WCW titles. Just before WWE purchased WCW, there were plans in place for them to redesign every single one of their titles. That is, with the exception of the beloved Big Goldie. This redesign would see all titles look very similar, and the WCW US and television title would feature the WCW logo in the center. This way of designing belts was way ahead of its time, as one of the criticisms that WWE face currently is that most of their belts look the same and only focus on the logo. If these were completed just in time for the WCW purchase, they would have been used on television, and Vince McMahon more than likely would have loved the designs. Number 8. Alternative version of the IC title. There have been a number of versions of the IC title, with the most recent version debuting in 2019. A number of years ago, an alternative version of the Intercontinental title was leaked online, and there was some debate as to whether WWE wanted to use this design. Some fans believed that this was going to be used during the Attitude Era, when WWE scrapped the classic design in favor of the oval design that was used until 2011. However, the title has the scratched WWE logo on, suggesting that they were going to introduce the design in 2003. Following the No Mercy pay-per-view in 2002, the IC title had been unified with the World title, but at the 2003 Judgment Day pay-per-view, WWE smartly brought the belt back. There were rumors at the time that they were going to debut a new design for the belt, and this leaked design more than likely would have been it. Number 7. Hulk Hogan's WWE title. During Hulk Hogan's historic 4-year reign as champion, he used a number of iconic WWE title designs, but there was one design that was made for Hogan that was used one time, and one time only. This was a custom version of the WWE title designed specifically for him, and there is only one single image of Hogan actually wearing the title. The title looks similar to a title that would be presented in the NWA and features an image of Hogan in the center. It's a bold design, but it doesn't really look too great, and WWE made the right move in not utilizing it at all. Number 6. Custom John Cena WWE title. John Cena is synonymous with the spinner version of the title that he introduced in 2005. However, before WWE and Cena settled on the spinner belt, they actually designed another belt that was never used. This belt featured the WWE logo restrained by chains. The artwork for the design looks kinda cool and certainly would have suited Cena's first incarnation of his Doctor of Thugonomics character. It's likely that WWE didn't use this design as they wanted it to spin, as CENA's custom US title had sold extremely well, and it made perfect business sense to use a similar design for the WWE title. Number 5. The King of the Ring title. Well, there have been rumors surrounding the King of the Ring title for years, with fans asking why WWE would make a title for a tournament winner and why they decided to make a title exclusively for Mabel. Well, it turns out they didn't. Back in 1995, Mabel shockingly won the King of the Ring tournament, and following this victory, he took it upon himself to get his own custom-made King of the Ring title. This actually wasn't approved by WWE, and they consequently never used it. Once Mabel was fired from the company, he began to use the title during independent shows as an extra incentive to attract bookings. Number 4. The Winged Eagle belt returns. But when The Rock defeated CM Punk for the WWE title at the Royal Rumble in 2013, they wanted to give The Rock a brand new version of the title. The design process for this was long and hard, and WWE came up with a number of designs. Some of them were downright awful, but there were ones which looked truly awesome. It was going to be a new version of the Winged Eagle, and it would feature the eagle with its claws instead of the WWE logo. The side straps would then look like bird wings, and it really looked different, but it could have really worked on screen. Nevertheless, WWE turned down this idea and instead introduced a new version of the WWE title that was used up until 2014. Number 3. The giant version of the classic WWE title. WrestleMania 3 featured one of the biggest matches of all time as Hulk Hogan collided with Andre the Giant for the WWE title. Ahead of the match taking place, they would create a brand new version of the title. Well, it was the same design, just a completely different size. WWE believed that if Andre won the match, the current title would be far too small, so they naturally made another version which was appropriately sized for Andre. The belt could be seen on the 16th March 1987 edition of Primetime Wrestling, and it looked rather impressive, but sadly, Andre would never get to hold that version of the WWE's top prize. Number 2. The Vegas Big Gold Belt. And Nature Boy Ric Flair joining WWE in 1991 was a huge deal, and it was made even bigger by the fact that he brought the NWA title with him. This was a rather unique storyline for WWE, as Flair would claim that he was the real world champion whilst he was presented on all WWE programming with the big gold belt around his waist. But WWE and Flair encountered a major problem when WCW planned to sue Flair for using the title on television, and WWE decided to take a step back from the storyline to avoid any legal penalties surfacing. But Vince McMahon wasn't just going to give up, however. He smartly began to pixelate the title on television, and Flair even began to use the tweaked design of the tag titles, which are supposed to act as the NWA title. Vince also ordered a new belt to be made that was titled the Vegas Big Gold Belt. It featured the nameplate removed and subtle changes being made, so it wasn't an exact replica. It was believed that the final design looked far too similar to the Big Gold title, and the design was ultimately scrapped. And number 1. The Rated R Belt. WWE wanted to take the feud between Edge and John Cena one step further in 2006, as WWE wanted Edge to introduce his own custom WWE title and put an end to Cena's spinner belt. Edge was excited by this prospect, and he even got to work making his own mock-up of what he believed the design should look like. Edge eventually presented these ideas to Vince McMahon and creative, and it's safe to say they hated the design. Now, in all fairness to Vince and WWE, it didn't look great, and it didn't look like a real WWE title design. WWE instead decided to change the center and side plates of the spinner belt for R's representing the Rated R superstar. Although this was seen as lazy by some, it was a smart move, and WWE could have easily transitioned back to Cena's version of the title once Edge had lost the belt. But there you have it, folks, 10 WWE titles that never saw the light of day. Be sure to leave your comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.